Lenny McAllister. It's this Night Talk. Get to the point. We were sitting here over the first two segments talking about income inequality and the minimum wage increase. And we started getting into paid interns versus unpaid interns. Is it a matter of helping to shift the income inequality because you're getting opportunity, or are you taking advantage of people working? And Melanie, you had a point with that, and I wanted to get to that before we went off to the break.
Sure. The new sort of regulatory requirements and rulings regarding internships, there are exceptions. So if you are a nonprofit educational organization and you're creating an educational experience, then you can utilize those exceptions. And really, the objective was so that we wouldn't exploit young people via these internships, and that they would be paid. And also, they created the ruling so we wouldn't put somebody out of a job and replace that person with an intern. So that's what that was about.
So, but here's my question. Here, you have small business owners that need the help. They would love to get the help without having to put somebody on the payroll, but at the same exact time, if they're able to say that I brought a couple of kids in during the summer, I had a couple of kids in during their fall break or winter break, I'm able to provide them with an opportunity, they can throw it on their resume. Isn't that, Councilman, a fair trade-off, it seems?
It is, and certainly, you know, I agree with the Reverend. I had incredible experiences, and I hope I'm part of the exemption and that my unpaid interns aren't at home watching right now. But I mean, I wouldn't be where I am today. My first experience was as an unpaid intern with Councilman Peduto, so it is critical. But like everything else, and the Reverend brought it up before, you know, when we're talking about regulations around the finance industry, what happens is you get the pendulum swing. Things get so lax that people are abusive. Government then does regulate and oftentimes over-regulate, and then you got to swing back. And I think sometimes you run into that because, as Melanie rightly pointed out, what was happening was tough economic times. Well, I'm just going to lay off 13 full-time workers, save on pension, health care, benefits, and I'll call it an internship. And yeah, it was probably a good opportunity, but is that right for our country and for communities if you're laying off workers to give 6-week internships all the time? So internships are healthy. When it's an abuse system, you then enter into new regulations.
And I know that everybody here at this table is focused on spreading prosperity the right way across the region and spreading it to all different aspects of diversity across the region. I know all of us, I'm going to take a chance and say that nobody at this table was born with a silver spoon in their mouth. Except for, no, I wasn't. People know I wasn't. But with that said, you start talking about spreading the prosperity across the diversity of the region. I know the Councilman talked about places such as Lincoln Larmer, talked about Homewood Brush and other areas. How do you do that? A, for the native Pittsburghers that are here that may have been locked in generational poverty, and then two, as you try to expand the region, you try to augment the talent that's already here, or in many instances, keep the talent that was here, going to CMU, going to Pitt, going to Duquesne. How do we do that? I know internships, and with all the schools that we have and all the good businesses that we have here and federal court here, etc. Those are opportunities to do that. But what other types of things should we be focusing on? What else could we add to that?
Right. I mean, it's just a big question. So there are a number of things that we talked about here. I think that we need job creators. We need more jobs. I don't know if you can ever have enough of those, but we need more of them here. But we also need to make sure that we are both empowering and developing people in the community to go after those jobs, to fill those jobs. And I don't know that we have sufficient enough alignment between our education policy, perhaps our education systems, even in our four-year college institutions, that are providing the instruction we need to get these young people into these jobs. So that is significant. It's huge. It takes time. It takes investment across the a board. It takes apprenticeships. It takes a lot of leadership. And then to the extent that we have biases in the system that are preventing people from getting access to those job opportunities, we have to address straight on those biases that are preventing people from getting access to those opportunities.
And before we go to the break, Councilman, I want you to mull on this, because it's one of the things that Melanie brought up too, and as a native Pittsburgher, I say this, I sit there and I look at the region and I say, how come there are certain jobs growing in certain areas, but at the same time there are not jobs growing in other other areas? What could Homewood look like if we actually saw it as being a new area? We have an example in East Liberty, but what would it look like if we had more of that in the east end of the city of Pittsburgh or in other depressed areas where instead of growing in one direction, we're growing all the way out? I know as a entrepreneur, you look at stuff like this, and in 15 seconds, what's the best way for somebody to just take a look? I know it's a complex question, but to sit there and look and say, I see something new where this hasn't existed previously.
Well, I think the answer is in your question. It's entrepreneurs who see something new. Well, we do need to desperately support job creators because it's the next new product, it's the new technology, it's the innovation that's going to create the job of the future and not the job of the past. So I think supporting our job creators is a great start.
And as we come back from the break, I'm going to be basically putting you on the spot to show how you can help him create more jobs. Coming back after this here on Night Talk, Get to the Point. Welcome back. And when we left, we were talking about how do we create more jobs throughout the region? How do we expand the prosperity across the diversity of the Pittsburgh region? And basically what I was putting you on task for, Councilman, was how does somebody like you on City Council help small business owners create more jobs? I mean, it's one thing to talk about creating more wealth and more profit, but the bottom line is if you create more profit for him, he's in a better position to hire. So what types of things will we probably see from City Council and this mayor moving through 2014?
It's a great question, one I could take the whole show on. You're basically asking why did you run for office. Two things I'll touch on.
Remember, you've already won, so
right.
even though you
now I'm going to do it. There's really two key points. Number one, it's strategic investment. You brought up before, what could we have done in Homewood or Lincoln Leamington or all these neighborhoods? Look at the way we invest our money as a government and as a community. And no disrespect to my good friends out in Robinson and, in Moon in that area, but look at something like Settlers Ridge, where the government tore down a forest, put in new sewers, new roads, to build new real estate, a new, Giant Eagle Market District, which is beautiful, and a new movie theater. What could that money have done to a Homewood or a Sheridan or an Esplin instead of a new shopping center off the highway with a new exit? That is a lot of government investment in real estate development. And did that create, it certainly created some great construction jobs. Did it create jobs that are going to help a small business owner employ? Did it create jobs that's going to change the tax base of Robinson Township or of the city of Pittsburgh? It doesn't. We're not strategic. And then when someone like that does come along, what do? We put up all the red tape. I mean, it is a disgrace that the city of Pittsburgh does to small business owners and entrepreneurs. If you want to start a business, the number of permits, which, by the way, we don't take credit card, we don't take check. You have money orders with multiple stops and dumpster permits and 3 meetings and building inspectors who don't have email. It's a nightmare. And what do? You chase someone to other regions like in Atlanta, like a Charlotte, and like a DC, places that are booming, that are welcoming small business and entrepreneurs, whereas we say, here's more red tape, here's more permits you need, here's more stops to make.
But is this a focus of this administration and this city council? Because it seems to be right in line with what her organization does, and specifically bringing it to specific areas. What type of targeted strategies are we considering right now in the city of Pittsburgh?
Look at the thousands of parcels that the Urban Redevelopment Authority owns. How do you turn those back over to communities, whether it's a small business owner or an entrepreneur, or it's young people coming from college? We're talking in council now about an incentive program for home buyers for their first time locally and how that can help. How do you take those parcels and give them to people to make it the attractive region to invest in? And then how do you cut that red tape and use technology, much of it coming out of our universities, to say, you know what, it is so easy. You've got a great idea. Let us connect you with the right people. Let us put you in, with think tanks, and let us give you the tools to take that idea from paper to an actual business plan to implementation.
So as they're putting this stuff into place, Melanie, and you're trying to spread the prosperity across the diversity of Pittsburgh, do you find it easier to keep people here that have already gone to school here, or is it something that over the recent times with the resurgence of Pittsburgh, what we find are that people are coming here for a job or a project and they stay here? What's been easier, to get the young professional or the student? Is it a pretty even mix? What exactly has it looked like?
Oh, that's a really good question. We haven't hit on any particular trend trend, I have to admit. But what I can tell you, the census progression, and that people move to opportunity. You know, a person immigrates to opportunity, you migrate from one place to opportunity. That opportunity is, it tends to be either reconnecting with family, I think was the #1 reason, and the second was a job. And now a job could be you're creating a business, right? And that's a job for you, or you are going to a job. And overwhelmingly, people of color migrate at a greater rate for a job than others. So in terms then of what does that mean for retention, it means that if you don't have the opportunity, or my access to that opportunity is somehow limited or frustrated, then, and I think I have options, I'm going to leave to go to a place with less frustration. I'm going to go if that opportunity is there, and my ability to access it is easy enough. So that is the story we want to tell regarding Pittsburgh. Is that, you know, that is the case, that we have the opportunity, migrate to the opportunity. We are a destination of opportunity. And then Vibrant Pittsburgh, we also have a welcome center. There's a whole bunch of welcoming initiatives. So when you get here, hopefully we can help you navigate through all these different things that you have to navigate to make it easier. And then as the city and the county and businesses do their thing, then we eventually meet in the middle to create a really sort of welcoming, inclusive place for people of all backgrounds.
And I can definitely say that it worked for me, because you got a boomerang like me at one of your events and had a great time, and Vibrant Pittsburgh does some good things. I want to continue to talk about this for just a second, and the types of things that attract people to Pittsburgh moving forward, whether it's the lifestyle that we have here or the business environment. We'll continue on that in just a second. Come back here on Night Talk. Get to the point right here on PCNC.